I'd like to thank the Building and Construction Authority of Singapore for inviting me to speak today, in recognition that I am here representing a network of GBCs globally. So the words you hear are not from me, it is from a groundswell of our members and their members as well. I think as everybody realizes, we're at a global crisis, at a global tipping point, where systematic change must occur, or the ramifications we'll see will be irreversible. The IPCC, and just to remind everybody, that was the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that met in 2018. We decided that 1.5 degrees is the global warming that we require, because at 2 degrees, the implications would be that we would lose entire ecosystems. So 1.5 degrees is where we have to hit, and also a reminder that we are about to become 10 billion people. So if we look at our people as looking for return on human capital, and that together we can actually do more things together, then we have a steep, tall cliff to make sure that we don't fall off, but we've got to make sure that we work together to change the world. Together, we are facing global challenges across all industries, and at the same time, this does present us with immense opportunities for us to collectively have positive impact. I think these numbers that you see are many of the key numbers that we see looking at carbon emissions and the status of where we are right now. By 2050, the built environment will double in size, and that will increase the impact to our sector significantly, and also the ramifications and deterioration of our natural resources that will be affected by that, which is a major contributor to global warming. Inefficient, unhealthy buildings that need to be retrofitted are something that we really need to focus on, and the global growth obviously places demands on it as well. So we have a combination of making sure that when we build new is net zero carbon or low carbon, and that we retrofit to achieve net zero and low zero carbon as well. Of the 194 signatories to the Paris Agreement, you can see this statistic up there, just 104 have committed to improving building energy efficiency. But the sad statistic is that only 68 countries actually have current building energy codes. So enabling these countries to actually stand by what they said and deliver is critical to our success. Buildings are responsible for 50% of global material use, with a 42.4 billion ton of materials consumed annually. We're expecting that to double by 2050. So once again, we are a big contributor, and the 39% of end-use energy-related carbon emissions globally comes from the building sector. People take pot shots at the aviation sector. Aviation's 2% contributor. And we may say that, those of us that are able to fly are an enchanted bunch and an entitled bunch, but still when you look at where we can get big savings, built environment construction is a large pot that we need to focus on. And our air quality. When we're constructing buildings, when we're manufacturing, when we're looking at the entire supply chain, air quality is greatly affected by the built environment construction industry. The United Nations now ranks air pollution as the largest environmental threat to human health. 91% of our people live in areas where air pollution levels exceed World Health Organization limits. That is a staggering number. 9% of the world lives in quality of air that they deem acceptable. And being in Singapore, when I know adjoining countries right now are burning off fields, it's something to note in terms of what the impact. Air has no recognition for borders. Air moves where it moves, groundwater doesn't move. So this isn't a country to country, this is a global phenomenon. And I think that we also know that 40% of people with asthma are negatively affected in terms of dampness and humidities and molds in their homes. So together we can face these challenges, and I think that we have to think about that longevity of our planet and our children and our children's children. So I think it's important that we start to look at what we can do, how do we start, what do we do next? So fortunately, as I talked about, the magnitude of the impact allows us to do a lot with it. So driving innovation across the entire supply chain is something that we really need to look at. Sorry, I didn't advance. And I think that green buildings is an area where the retrofitting, as I've talked about, is critical. Singapore is quite a new city, but when you think of cities in Europe and other long-established countries, Middle East, that we have to focus on those places. They can't rebuild new. They have to retrofit what they have. So the World Green Building Council, this is where our work comes in. As I mentioned, I'm here representing 70 countries, and of those 70 countries in total, we have more than 37,000 members of their members. Some are corporate, some are individual, most are companies within the family of country organizations. And collectively, we've committed to reducing the building and construction sector's CO2 emissions to reach net zero carbon by 2050, and ultimately to limit this temperature rise that we've been talking about. So the enabling piece is what we're really focused on to make sure that there are green buildings for everyone, everywhere. This is a slide representing the Asia-Pacific organization. We're divided globally into 5 regions: the Americas, Europe, Africa, Asia-Pacific, and the Middle East and North Africa. Here in the region of Asia-Pacific, we have 14 Green Building Councils, country GBCs, including Singapore GBC. The regions are sponsored by regional partners. ACG, that you see on the slide, is a leading global glass, chemical, and material company. AkzoNobel, a leading paints and coatings company. Ramble, a leading consultancy and engineering group, and Schneider Electric, a global specialist in energy management and in automation. So together in the Asia-Pacific region, we work on strategic engagements, thought leadership, key policies and activities, including the Advancing Net Zero and the Better Places for People initiatives. Those are 2 of the World GBC projects alongside a large number of other projects. I'm just going to quickly point out Victoria Burrows, who's sitting up here, is our net zero leader, and Alan Teo, who's sitting right here, is the Asia Pacific Director, head for Asia. So seek them out, help out, get information. Our strategy is really focused on 3 key areas of climate action. There's the resource efficiency, the health and well-being, and the climate action piece to make sure that we drive this change in the building construction sector. We follow along with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So with these 3 areas, you can see that there's the bands, I call them the 5 enablers.